Hey everybody, good morning. Happy week 13. Wow, week 13. Let that sink in a little bit. Um, I want to start off today really kind of apologizing. I disappeared a little bit last week. Uh, I was feeling extremely under the weather, a little bit sick, a little bit just run down, a little bit sick of being behind a computer screen. I think a lot of us are feeling that way right now, and I just want to kind of shoot out there that none of us are immune to it. I'm not immune to it. I'm struggling a little bit with the whole, completely online, isolated kind of world. And so I'm understanding for those of you who are as well. Just, chat with me and we can talk and we can work it out. Um, this week is kind of a catch up week, right? I purposely kept it a little bit light. And so if you haven't been able to finish up with F7, F8, F9, F10, right? Go ahead and take your time to catch up. I'll be catching up on the Women in the Wastelands essay. I'm pretty far behind on that, and I do apologize. But all those grades should be coming back within the next day or two. Feeling much better and ready to tackle that. Okay. Um, I have opened up a couple new pages today, and I think these are going to be some fun pages, right? So we've had our vegetables early. Now it's time to go to the dessert time. Okay. F11 is a Netflix show, right? It's from Black Mirror. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's called Men Against Fire. And it's just hopefully the quality's okay. I bootlegged it a little bit, so um, it might be a little janky, but I think it'll work mostly. But it's a really interesting story that I think encapsulates what Saeed is talking about and the kind of need to establish an other in order to maintain control over a population, right? And it's really kind of interesting the way that Black Mirror approaches it, as most things that Black Mirror does are pretty interesting. So take a look at that. I've put a Padlet in below, right? So we can take a look here. So I have put a little bit of a Padlet kind of in below here, in which we have our video and we have the Padlet. So just click into this Padlet and just put in your thoughts, right? Anything that you think. Respond to any of these questions or anything that you find interesting. How does this show represent a post-colonial attitude or the creation of ideology and hegemony in order to divide and conquer a population, right? And they do it some really interesting with some interesting symbols. So pick those out, post them up here, and then you'll be in a small group discussion in which I ask you to essentially talk about what you saw in Black Mirror that kind of creates this concept of the Occident and the Orient, right? So take what you find in the notes in the Padlet and expand on that in your small group discussions. Okay. As usual, small group discussions work best if you bounce ideas back and forth. Writing a diatribe and then disappearing forever is not doing any good for anybody. So check back again and again and see what your group mates have to say, and build that discussion like you would in 4 desks facing each other in a classroom. That's kind of the intent. It'll take a couple more days, but we're hoping to get the same kind of conversation flowing. Okay. And then I put in a couple stories, right? One story a day or so, pretty short. Bread and Bombs is a really powerful story about living in this kind of post-colonial. It's about how a community in some dystopian future envisions an other, maintains that other. Okay, it is written in a little bit of a different way in that it's written kind of in the present and then in flashback and then comes back to the present and goes back into the flashback and back and forth a couple of times. So be aware of that. It's coming. I think the writer does a pretty good job of keying us in on when those switches happen. But be aware that's going to happen. And then, pay attention. Who is the other? And this is a really interesting thing, right? And pay attention to the children in this, right? In which ways do the children of the story accept or reject the kind of hegemonic ideology of their parents? Some crazy stuff is going on at the end, I gotta say. I don't want to give too many spoilers away. but it takes an interesting turn there at the end. So I'm looking forward to seeing those discussions played out in Hypothesis. Okay. The next story we're going to read, and this one's for Thursday, is called Dark, Dark Were the Tunnels. Right. So this is George R.R. Martin. You might know him from Game of Thrones, right? So he writes Game of Thrones. So this is also an interesting piece that establishes the creation and the maintenance of the other, of the Occident and the Orient. Again, we're going to return to Said's concepts over and over and over again because they're just that important, okay? And this is really interesting. This takes place in a deep, deep future after some kind of nuclear holocaust took place on the Earth, okay? After this holocaust takes place on the Earth, the people that were living in a colony on the moon can also no longer get back to the Earth, right? So there's this crazy thing where the Earth and the moon people have been separated for years and years and years and years and years. And then the moon people finally get the technology to come back to the Earth. Well, what do they find? Who is the other? That's the concept, right? And so there's a big interplay in the Occident and the Orient, right? Are the people on Earth the true Earthlings, or are the people from the moon the true Earthlings, right? Let that sink in for a little bit, and as you watch or as you read the story, pay attention to where the different characters, I don't want to say dehumanize, but you get it, dehumanize or animalize or disparage the other people, right? And so looking at where characters talk crap about others is a good way to kind of identify where these characters view themselves. And then again, in the end, some crazy stuff taking place at the end. What does the end have to say about this whole concept of Orientalism? Okay, some really interesting stuff taking place. I really hope you enjoy it. Again, take time this week for yourself. Take some time to catch up. We will get into the essay writing process for this next week, and then we're going to finish up the semester hanging out and reading the Hunger Games, right? So it should be kind of an ease up after this next essay. Of course, we have this next essay to get through, but after that, it should be kind of an ease up into the end of the semester. As always, if you need to chat, you know where I'm at in office hours, which will be fully scheduled as always this week. So hang in there, like we got this. We seriously got this. 4 weeks left in the semester. We can make it. Okay? I believe in you. I believe in myself. Nothing to it but to do it at this point in time. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk soon.